Now, in the previous lecture, we had a quick look on ZenMap and how it can be used to gather information. So in this lecture, we'll build up on that. And the main scan that I want to show you right now is the Quick Scan Plus. This scan takes the Quick Scan one step further. So first of all, it'll be slower, but it's going to show us even more information. So first, we're going to be able to see the operating system running on the discovered devices. We will also be able to see the device type, whether it's a phone or a laptop or a router. And we'll be able to discover the program and the program version running on the discovered ports. So before, for example, we were able to discover port 80 is open, but we didn't know what program is running on this port or what version of this program. Getting the exact program version is really helpful when we get to the gaining access section, and you'll see then how we can use that to exploit vulnerable services and gain full control over the computers that have these services installed. Now, straight away, when you look at the results, you'll see that we got much more information than all of the scans we ran so far. So the first thing you'll notice is the icons beside the IPs of the discovered devices. These icons represent the operating system running on these devices. So right now we have the operating system for all of the connected devices. And now it's showing us the programs running on each of the discovered ports and the versions of these programs. So for example, if we look at the 192.168.112, the Apple device, on the last scan, we knew that port 22 open and we knew that SSH is running on it, but we didn't know what version of SSH was running. Right now we can see that it's running Open SSH version 6.1. So we can go on Google and look for exploits and vulnerabilities in this specific version, and we might actually find something. We'll actually talk more about that in the gaining access section. Now, if you look at the device type, you can see that it's a media device, it's a phone. So before, we knew this is an Apple device, but we didn't know whether it's a tablet, a phone, or a MacBook. Right now, we know that it is a phone. It's also discovering that it's running Apple iOS 4, 5, or 6. Now it's actually running a newer version of iOS. I'm not entirely sure. I think 9 or 10, but still it's close enough. It's telling me that it's an Apple. It's telling me that it's a phone. It's running iOS. So this is really, really good. Now if we go to the next device here, the 192.168.120, this is a Linux device, and when we ran the quick scan, we were able to identify port 80 and port 49152 open, but again, we didn't know the program running or the service version running on this port. So right now we know it's Apache HTTPD 2.2.22. It's running on Ubuntu. So again, now we have the operating system, the exact version of the service running, so we can go and look for weaknesses and exploits in this specific version. And this port, we didn't even know what service was running on it. Right now we know it's a UPnP service, and the server is Mediatomb UPnP. We have the exact version again. So again, we can go ahead and look for exploits in these specific versions, and if we discover any, we'll be able to gain full control on this computer. Again, if we go down to the 192.168.122 machine, we can see that it's running a Microsoft HTTP API on port 5357. You can also browse by the services. So from here on the left, if you click on services, you'll be able to categorize the discovered clients based on the services. So if we click on HTTP, we'll see all the clients that have a HTTP service running. If you click on SSH, we can see the Apple device here. It's the only device that has a SSH service running. So let me actually show you a quick and fun example. If we go back here to the hosts and go back to the Apple device, the 192.168.112, as I said, we know it's a phone, we know it's an Apple phone, we know that it has an SSH service installed on it, running on port 22, and we know that SSH is a service that allows you to remotely execute system commands on the computer that has the SSH service installed. Now, obviously, before you can use this service, you have to use a username and a password. Once you authenticate, it'll allow you to execute system commands remotely on that computer or on that phone. Now, by default, iOS devices do not have an SSH server. Usually, when you jailbreak the phone or the device, it'll automatically install an SSH server, and the password for that server is set to Alpine by default. That's ALPINE. Now, since we know that this is an iPhone and it has port 22 open with Open SSH server, we know that this phone has been jailbroken. Now, since the phone is jailbroken, we know the password to log into SSH is Alpine unless the user changed it. Now, most users do not even know about this, and even the ones that know about this, like myself, are too lazy to change it. So it's always worth a try if you discover a phone like this in the same network. It's always worth a try to go and try to connect to it with the default password. So I'm just going to go to my terminal and I'm going to try to connect to this phone using SSH. So I'm going to type SSH root, which is the username for the admin in Linux, at 192.168.112. This is the IP of the phone. I'm going to hit enter. It's asking me if I should trust this connection. I'm going to say yes. And now it's asking me for the password. And like I said, when the phone is jailbroken, the password is set to Alpine. So I'm going to type ALPINE. I'm going to hit enter. And as you can see, I logged in as root. So right now I have the highest privileges on the phone and I can do whatever I want on the system. And now we can use system commands to completely control the phone. Now this is a little bit ahead of time. We are still in the network hacking section, so don't worry too much about this. We'll talk more about it in the gaining access section, but it's just a quick example that I wanted to show you of how powerful information gathering is, because we literally did not exploit anything right here. We just relied on the information we gathered and we were able to hack an iPhone that is connected to the same network as us. Now, like I said, Nmap is a huge tool. I highly recommend you go ahead and try the other profiles in here. And like I said, once done with the course, I think the Nmap book would be a really good read. We'll also use Nmap much more in the gaining access section, and we'll see how we can use this information to gain full control over the computers using code execution vulnerabilities and so on. But in this lecture, I just wanted to give you a quick overview, and we'll build up on this as we go through the course.